بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. نتعلم التعليم والتذكر والتذكير والدعوة إلى الله. So we are today doing Arkan al-Salah, and that is the pillars of the Salah. So the pillars, as we know, like a building can't stand without its 4 pillars, for example, or a chair. It needs like 4 corners, right? So the Salah has 17, has 17 pillars. So if you leave one of them, your Salah is not valid. It's a goner. So some of them are like repetitive, and we're going to go over it, inshallah. So let's just do it. The first one is a niyyah. So it's the intention. You have to do the intention to pray. You can't just be standing and then reading Fatiha and then, okay, well, I'm just going to start doing ruku' right now because whatever. No. You have to have the intention to pray. And you say in your heart, you say, Usalli farad al-asr, for example, Usalli farad al-dhuhr, Lillahi ta'ala, Allahu Akbar. So yeah, you have to have the intention. Usalli means I'm going to pray. Farad is obligatory. I'm going to pray the obligatory asr. So say I'm going to pray Usalli farad al-asr. I'm going to pray the asr, which is obligatory. That's what it basically means. So if you're praying fajr, you say Usalli farad al-subhi or Usalli farad al-fajr, Lillahi ta'ala, Allahu Akbar. So you have to come to intention. The first pillar is the intention. The second pillar is al-qiyamu ala al-qadiri fil fard. Is al-qiyam is standing up. Ala al-qadir, who is it? Who has to stand up? The one who is able to stand up. Al-qadir, the person who is not going to be in pain or is not going to fall down if they stand up. The person is able to stand up. Fil fard. Fil fard means in the obligatory salahs. Basically, in sunnah, if you just want to sit down for funsies, like just because, you can actually just sit down and pray. But when you're doing ruku', you just have to do a little bit, bend towards the front a little bit, and then sujood, you actually do a real sujood. But you can do that. But in fard, in asr, for example, dhuhr, maghrib, fajr, isha, the 5 obligatory prayers, you can't just sit for funsies. You have to stand up if you're able. If you're sick, if you can't stand up, then you have an excuse. You're okay. So the second pillar is al-qiyam, being standing up. So the first one is intention. Second one is standing up. Al-qadr. And you don't stand like the whole prayer. You just stand up when you have to, like the beginning and i'tidal and all that stuff. Okay. The third pillar is takbiratul ihram, and that is saying Allahu Akbar. Yeah, they call it takbiratul ihram because when you do it, everything before it becomes like haram amal. For example, it's like that. Before you say Allahu Akbar, you can talk. Before you say Allahu Akbar, you can play around, you can do whatever. But when you say Allahu Akbar, you're done, you're in prayer. If you move more than 3 movements consecutively, your prayer breaks. If you eat food, your prayer, it makes like a lot of stuff you were able to do, you can't do it anymore. So the third pillar is saying Allahu Akbar. And that's when you make the intention. The fourth pillar is Qira'at al-Fatiha. Reading Surah Al-Fatiha, and is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa Iyyaka nasta'in, Ihdina as-Sirata al-Mustaqim, Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim, Ghayri al-Maghdubi alayhim, Wad-Dallin. That's Fatiha. So you have to read it. You have to read it, not make any mistakes, not switch the letters, not add new stuff. You have to read it perfectly. It's very important. Okay. The fifth pillar is a ruku'. So when you finish the Fatiha and you finish the other surah, you have to bend over forwards, right? And place your hands over your knees. The ruku'. And that's what you have to do. That's the fifth pillar. So that's what it is. At-tumaninatu fi, this the sixth pillar. At-tumaninatu fi basically means staying in the ruku' position for a moment equal to for a time that's equal to say Subhanallah. So this is very important, because if you're just praying very fast and you're just moving, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, that salah is not valid. You have to, every part of the salah, every position of the salah, you have to stay in it for at least a moment of your limbs when you're moving from one position to another position, you have to stay for at least a moment where you can say Subhanallah. So I'm standing right now and I do ruku', Allahu Akbar. I stay there for at least Subhanallah. And then I say Sam'allahu liman hamidah. Like, we don't want you say Subhanallah while you're moving. You have to stop, say Subhanallah, and then usually sunnah to say Subhan Rabbil Azim wa bihamdih for 3 times or more. But the minimum is Subhanallah without moving, and then you go. That's the 5th pillar. That's the 6th pillar. The 7th pillar is al-i'tidal, and that's when you get up from the ruku' and you stand up and say Sam'allahu liman hamidah. That's i'tidal. You're like standing straight. And then the 8th pillar is at-tumanina fi. So as we mentioned, tumanina is like staying in that position for a moment where you can say Subhanallah. You don't have to say it. You don't have to say it in your heart. You just it's like 1 second, 1 second and a half around that. I don't want to be incorrect. But the 9th pillar is as-sujud marratain. So doing 2 sujuds. Sujud is where you prostrate and you place your forehead on the ground, and your hands and your knees and your legs all on the ground. Have to do that. And that's when that's sujood. So you have to do that twice. Yeah. At-tumanina fi. That's the 10th pillar. And staying, when you're doing sujood, you have to stay in that position for minimum of saying like Subhanallah. A minimum time equal to saying Subhanallah. So when you go sujood, say Allahu Akbar, Subhanallah, Allahu Akbar. You don't have to say Subhanallah, you don't have to say it in your heart, just the amount of time. Is usually sunnah to say Subhan Rabbil A'la wa bihamdih 3 times or more. Okay. The 11th pillar is al-julus bayna as-sajdatayn. Is the sitting that you have to do in between the both prostrations, in between both sujuds. So when you sit, like when you do sujood, you have to sit. Sit, and then you can do another sujood. But if you don't sit, and you just do sujood and you put your head up a little bit and go back, it's like, no, you have to go do julus, as if like you're doing a tahiyyat. So go back, do julus, and sit, and then, the 12th pillar is at-tumanina fi. So you have to stay in that position, julus, the sitting, for a moment of time equal to saying Subhanallah. So you sit and you say, like, you have to be there for at least equal to someone saying Subhanallah, and then you can move. The 13th pillar is at-tashahhud al-akhir. So it's at-tahiyyatu al-mubarakatu as-salawatu at-tayyibatu lillah. Assalamu alayka ayyuha an-nabiyyu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadillahi as-salihin. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa sallam. So that's the at-tahiyyat. And then the 14th pillar is al-qu'ud fi. So when you're doing at-tashahhud, or you're doing tahiyyat al-mubarakatuh, salatu, when you're reading that, you have to be sitting. You can't be doing that while you're standing, while you're doing sujood. You have to do that while you're sitting. After you did 2 sujoods, and then you sit, you can start mut'ana at-tashahhud. The 15th pillar is the salah al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as I mentioned. So you can't leave this part, So if you forget Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad, your salah is not valid in the second tashahhud, And the first tashahhud, let's say you're praying Asr, there's 2 tashahhud, right? You pray 1 rak'ah, pray the second rak'ah, there's a tashahhud. That rak'ah, if you even if you leave the whole tashahud, your salah is not like going to be invalid. But the second tashahud, the one before the salam, if you forget Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad, you have to redo it. Okay, and then the 16th pillar is as-salam. You have to say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and you're like, that's how you get out of the prayer. And it's sunnah to face the right side the first time, and then the second time you face the left side. And the 17th pillar is at-tartib. It's a tartib. You have to do it in that order. Yeah, you can't you start with sujood and then do al-Fatiha and then do this stuff. It has to be everything in order.